One side in this campaign has been telling us that the issues of this election are the maintenance of peace and prosperity. The line has been used, we've never had it so good.
In his hallmark passive way, President Obama, during a news conference over the weekend, indicated the administration will maintain the current strategy and labeled the Paris attacks as a setback. This is Robert Kiger, founder of Citizens for Restoring USA. If you have your own fears and anger regarding the administration's strategy on ISIS and the war on terror, and if you're waiting for clarification from the president or any of the Democratic candidates running for president in 2016, you won't get it. The candidates agree with President Obama's feckless strategy, and none of them can even bring themselves to call it by name: Islamic terrorism.
If you were waiting to hear a U.S. president say, "I feel your pain," or if you were waiting to hear a U.S. president say, "It's them or us," that is not what you just heard. President Obama called the attacks here in Paris a setback at one point. He was asked, is it time for you to change your strategy? More or less, he said no. Have you underestimated the abilities of ISIS? More or less, he said no. Do you understand how to defeat ISIS? His response, this is a variation of the same question.
There will be setbacks and there will be successes. The terrible events in Paris were obviously a terrible and sickening setback.
But I have an uncomfortable feeling that this prosperity isn't something on which we can base our hopes for the future.
There is no question in my mind that if we summon our resources, both our leadership resources and all of the tools at our disposal, not just military force, which should be used as a last resort, but our diplomacy, our development aid, law enforcement, sharing of intelligence in a much more open and cooperative way, that we can bring people together. But it cannot be an American fight. And I think what the president has consistently said, which I agree with, is that we will support those who take the fight to ISIS.
In the previous debate, you said the greatest threat to national security was climate change. Do you still believe that?
Absolutely. In fact, climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Climate change didn't kill them. Lack of free community college didn't kill them. The income gap, wage inequality, nope, not those things either. Gay marriage, nope. Oh, white racism, not that either. So what did? President Obama, if you won't say it, I will. Radical Islam. This is not workplace violence. This is not a criminal act with motives unknown. This is terrorism.
If you don't call it by what it is, how can your approach be effective to the cause? That's the critique.
I believe calling it what it is to say radical jihadis.
Islam. Do you agree with that characterization, radical Islam?
I don't think we're at war with Islam. I don't think we're at war with all Muslims. I think we're at war with jihadists who have...
Just to interrupt, he didn't say all Muslims.
I think that you can talk about Islamists who clearly are also jihadists, but I think it's not particularly helpful to make the case that Senator Sanders was just making, that I agree with, that we've got to reach out to Muslim countries. We've got to have them be part of our coalition.
This is an organization that you once described as a JV team that evolved into a force that has now occupied territory in Iraq and Syria and is now able to use that safe haven to launch attacks in other parts of the world. How is that not underestimating their capabilities, and how is that contained, quite frankly? And I think a lot of Americans have this frustration that they see that the United States has the greatest military in the world. It has the backing of nearly every other country in the world when it comes to taking on ISIS. And I guess the question is, and if you'll forgive the language, is why can't we take out these bastards?
Well, Jim, I just spent the last three questions answering that very question. So I don't know what more you want me to add. I think I've described very specifically what our strategy is, and I've described very specifically why we do not pursue some of the other strategies that have been suggested.
I've had it with this failed strategy, this halfway, half-baked, tiptoe, be friendly to jihadis mentality pushed by this administration. Be a leader, someone. They, the radical Islamists, have brought the fight right here to the red, white, and blue, and it's about time we bring it to them, full force. Let's show them what the United States of America looks like up close and personal. Show them what a B-1 bomber looks like flying overhead. Show them what they're messing with. Put the fear of God in their desert, because clearly our lack of strategy isn't working.
I would bomb the shit out of them.